We shall see. If it doesn't work, we're missing Nelrena and Chris, our audiovisual crew.
Oh, she's getting ready to watch. So.
She is?
Yeah.
If it works. Let's see. I believe we're going to be, let's go to Matthew in the 18th chapter. And I expect today we'll try to keep this into what, I say is a short-ish message, but just a thought out of, and then if you want to, go ahead and mark Hebrews in the first chapter, if you want to go back and forth. So, Matthew 18. And we'll take one verse, verse 10. Matthew 18 and verse 10, take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. So before we go over to Hebrews now, in the first chapter. And let's look at verse 13. Hebrews 1 and 13. But to which of the angels said he at any time, sit on my right hand until I make thine enemies thy footstool? So he's speaking of the angels. Then we go to verse 14. Are they, speaking of the angels, not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? So that's us. So when you go back to Matthew 18, I just like to look at the last part of that verse. That in heaven, their angels, and that's their possessive. So it's talking about the little ones. Take heed that ye despise not one of these little ones. For I say unto you that in heaven, the little ones, angels, do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. So when you read it that way, and you actually think about what it's saying, and you look at the same verse in Hebrew, and you look at, you can argue this as doctrine, not doctrine, doesn't matter to me. I just tell you the way I like to read it, and the way I like to imagine or believe that this applies. I believe that we have an angel. I believe that's what it says there. That their angels, meaning each one of the little ones, has an angel in heaven that is there to watch over them. Now, I also think when you want to go back, and especially when you go back and read through the Old Testament, you can take it a little further. Because how many times did it say the angel of the Lord? So maybe he had his own as well, which would probably be a very powerful thing. They did an angel of the Lord destroyed, 180-some thousand troops outside of Jerusalem one time in one night. And to believe that when we get to heaven, not saying we're higher than the angels. Christ obviously was when he ascended back into heaven. But each of us, when we get to points where we're worried about God not particularly paying attention to us, and I hate to say it that way, but we've all felt that. When you've prayed prayers for weeks or months or years on end and you haven't gotten an answer yet, and we all in the flesh worry that maybe God's not hearing our prayers, even though we know and we read and we can look at the verses of, yes, he's going to answer us, yes, he hears us. But we all get discouraged from time to time, and we all think we're facing things alone sometimes, even though as Christians we know we can pray to God, we know we have God. But even one step further, I believe that we all have an angel that's here to minister unto us on the earth. Elijah had an angel that came to him by the brook. He came to him under the juniper tree and fed him when he was depressed and tired and ready to go home. He was ready to go home, but he had an angel that came down and took care of him, prepared him a little cake, and then prepared him some meat to go on another journey. So when we get to the point where we're worried that God's not paying attention to us, and we can all say we don't do that, but we do.
Yep, we do.
So that's why it's in the Bible. That's why it tells us not to worry about things, because He knows we're going to worry.
Yep.
So beyond worrying, beyond knowing that I know God's looking down, I know He's listening, I know He's answering my prayers, we also have another layer to that, which is we have an angel. And even in Jacob's ladder, an angel's ascending and descending. They're coming down to help us. Now, they also come down to mete out judgment. Yep. We've seen that. They come down to destroy other nations that were against God. But I read Matthew 18:10 as meaning we have an angel that is going up and down that ladder, that's acting as a ministering spirit unto me, that's also acting as an intercessor in heaven. I know I have Jesus on the right side of the Father, but isn't it good sometimes to have another layer of backup, another layer of help? So when we get to that point, and I believe in Hebrews 14, that's also this Hebrews 1 and 14, that's also, I believe, what it's saying. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? Now, what that also means, if you're not a Christian, I don't think you have an angel.
No.
Because they're sent to minister to the heirs of salvation. Yep. The heirs of salvation are those that are under the blood of Christ. So a little extra bonus today, if you want to think about it, an extra bonus sometimes of being a Christian, an extra bonus of serving God, an extra bonus of living in His Word the way we're supposed to live, is we also have ministering spirits that will help us when we not sure where the next meal is going to come from, or not sure if the car's going to start in the morning, or if we need another job, or whatever it may be. We've got help.
Yep.
We've got help even beyond Almighty God and Jesus. We've also got angels that minister unto us. That's the way I read it. And that's all I have. But I think it's good to know that I believe continually I've got the indwelling Holy Ghost. I've got Jesus who has pardoned my sins and is sitting on the right hand of the Father making intercession for me.
Yep.
I've got God the Father who knows all, sees all, and is all. And beyond all of that, I've got a ministering angel that's going up and down, ministering to me here, going up into heaven and making intercession as well. This gives me a little extra layer of comfort.
I never thought about it being like
Now again,
our angel. Like we have our own.
this is my take on it.
I know. I do think, not just think, I know God uses angels to help on earth for whatever reasons those are and whatever they are, but I read it to say like that, almost like maybe you have an angel.
That's the way I read Matthew 18 and 10.
Yes.
Because it's possessive. They're
Yes.
angels.
Yes, and I never saw that.
And then once
so I see that now. I'm like, wow.
when I saw that and started thinking that way,
yeah.
then I look back and then I realized, so when it speaks of the angel of the Lord in the Old Testament, is that His angel?
Mm-hmm.
Does He have His angel? Now, He could have called 10,000 angels, obviously, but maybe He has one too. Yeah. And maybe He had one when He came down here, as a God in the flesh.
Yeah. You go to Psalm 34. Verse 7. And I've heard people quote this, and I never really paid mind to it till you just said that about it being singular.
Yeah.
I've heard people quote it and put the S on the end of angels. It don't say that.
No, it's angel.
It says the angel of the Lord encampeth round about them that fear Him. That tells me we've all got one.
That's the way I like to read.
You've got your own personal winged being, if you want to give it that. You've got your own personal angel that the Lord sends. Hey, I need you to go down there and help Brother John out for just a minute. I need you to go talk to Reva and Michelle. Go down there and be with them. That's your job. That's what he created that one angel to do, is to come for me. And I hadn't never thought of it like that, but when I reread that verse, that
the angel.
that
Now again, doesn't matter.
no, it don't.
It doesn't matter
I mean,
from a doctrinal standpoint whether that's what it meant, whether it didn't what it meant. But boy, it gives me a little comfort. It gives me just a little extra comfort to know that I've got the same type of angel of the Lord that could come down and take care of the people all through the Old Testament. I've got the same one that could come down and destroy 185,000 of my enemies. I don't ask for my enemies to be destroyed. We're talking about sin now. But that's the power that an angel has. And I like to believe, the way that it's written, that I have my own angel. And then and you'll find out now, when I first noticed and thought that way, of all the times in the Old Testament, and now you're going, oh.
Yeah. I mean, you could see my wheels turning, Casey.
Yeah.
So.
And again, there are a lot of things in the Bible that I think everybody pictures a little differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the angel making Elijah a cake, I like to think it was a cake that I like.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a fruit cake.
No.
So I picture a nice vanilla cake with buttercream icing. It was probably a piece of bread, but that's not the way I like to picture it. And again, we can have leeway to picture things different ways, except for the plan of salvation and the things that are clearly put, there is no other way. So I like to picture that I have an angel.
That's pretty good picking right there.
And it gives me a little extra comfort. And it gives me someone else to talk to sometimes. I don't know. Now, it's also somebody else who's watching what we're doing.
That's right.
Who's going from here to heaven,
Who's
and from here to
reporting.
heaven, and from here to heaven.
Yeah.
Not that God doesn't see it all anyway, but sometimes we forget that God sees it all. But I believe there's somebody else right there that's with us all the time as Christians, the heirs of salvation, that sees it. That's all I had. I told you it was going to be short today.
It was good.
It was good. No matter how long it is.
I don't know how to stop this. Everybody want to say hi before I stop it?